Hello, everybody. This is Andreas Geiger, Division E Director. Welcome to the very first webinar on an important topic, mentoring. Today, I would like to show you what we did at UBS Rhetoric Club 1.5 years ago. And Lorenzo thankfully took over the role of slide jockey. I will take 15 minutes to explain you what we did in our club, and then we will open the floor for a discussion. This is very important to me. I want to know all your questions and really understand what you think of our very simple mentoring scheme that we developed. The next slide, please. Okay, this is not what I expected. Can you go? There are two files, and I need the 19-slide PDF. Yes, this one. Excellent. Okay, one more down, please. Yes, and here is what our motto was. We wanted to involve all the members and also solve some challenges that we had in our club. And we will come back to that in a minute. The next slide, please. And I would like to start with why. There are 3 important moments for our members where it really makes sense to have a mentor. And one of these situations is the new joiners. You can see they have plenty of questions, and it's good to have somebody to answer the questions and give them guidance. Then the next slide is, I call these members, they are in between. So they maybe did 1, 2, 3 speech projects with a steep learning curve, and then some certain scenarios can happen. So the learning curve can continue in the same steep way, or, which is very common, people have speeches that do not go so well. Maybe there is a tough project at work, maybe something is happening at home, and then the probability that we lose these members, that they lose the motivation, is very high. And here again, it makes sense to have somebody to speak to, somebody that gives you tips, somebody is here to support you. And then the next slide is something that we had in our club today. One member, after 3.5 years, reached the 10th speech project from the competent communicator. And I saw so many people leaving us at this stage because they just did not know what's next. And he already in his speech said maybe he continues with the advanced manuals, maybe he goes to pathways, which would be the best thing. So we also see the very advanced members, they also have questions. And when we look at the next slide, this is my main message today. It makes sense to have somebody to speak to, somebody that helps you in certain situations. It can be for new joiners, it can be for people that are in between, but it's also important when you are advanced or very advanced to have somebody to speak to. Okay, then the next slide, please. And I want to show you what we did and what Sarah Klinger, as the then Vice President Education, did in our Zurich Paradeplatz group, a German-speaking group, very well established, 9 years old now. But there was, until 1.5 years ago, there was no mentoring at all. And we had a lot of challenges. So we had problems filling officer roles. We had the problem that people left us after the 10 speech project or did not even make it to any education award. Very little activity when it comes to speech projects. And the next slide, please. And before I go into what we did, what we established already a few years ago at UBS Rhetoric Club, our corporate Toastmasters club, is coffee meetings. We want to meet all the new joiners, the guests, before they join a regular Toastmasters meeting. We want to meet them for coffee, which can take 30 to 45 minutes, usually run by our vice president membership. And what is covered in there, again, this is like the very first mentoring discussion that we have with a person. The person can ask all the questions they have about Toastmasters. It's a concept that has to be explained. It takes time to explain it. And what's very important for me is that we also explain them our slogan. Our slogan is "Where leaders are made." It is not where public speakers are made or where speakers are made. It's where leaders are made. And you can discuss this later on. I'm of the opinion that people have to understand this right from the first minute, that it's not only public speaking. Public speaking and advanced communication skills are an important tool in the toolbox of each leader, but it's just one tool of many. And what we do, we are in the we make leaders. We are in the leader making business, and I say people have to understand this in the first discussion, in the first contact they have with us. And I also like to show them the Toastmasters promise already in this discussion. And there is this one important sentence: when the club calls you to take on an officer role, please take it. Please take it. Take the officer role when you are called upon to do so. I mean, there are people that do not like this package where leaders are made, then it's maybe the best idea at this point in time to say, okay, there are great opportunities to develop communication skills, but Toastmasters with the strong focus on leadership is maybe not the right thing. We can come back to this later, but now I would like to show what we did and what Sarah did. And what I really liked, and of course, the usual approach would be you ask for volunteers and you do some democracy. Sarah just did what we call in German a Planwirtschaft, so a centrally planned economy, a state-directed economy. She just assigned mentors. This was her first step in her role as Vice President Education. And then she decided to trigger or remind the mentors to reach out to the mentees twice a year, and also to collect the development plans, the written development plans. We all know that the Vice President Education role is a tough role, a very time-consuming role, and you can decide in your clubs to have an 8th officer role, the lead mentor. So next to the Vice President Education, you could have a lead mentor. Okay, then the next slide. What did the Vice President in our case do? Sarah created a pool of mentors. She just took our most advanced members, those that have been the longest with us, and made them mentors. This was the pool of mentors that she started with. So he just took the advanced and very advanced members that were around. And then she, again, it was a centrally planned economy. She just assigned 3 mentees to each of these mentors, just as a first idea. And then she put out that list, and there was some flexibility. So people could say, okay, as a mentor, I would like to work with these 3 mentees. There was some flexibility to change it. For example, when people don't like each other or when that just doesn't make sense. And what she also did, and with hindsight, this was very smart, also the mentors, the advanced people, they also got a mentor assigned. And this, in my case, was also very beneficial. So the Planwirtschaft, the state-directed economy, is have a pool of mentors and just assign mentees. No volunteers, no democracy, just planned with some flexibility to change it just to get started. This was the idea. We wanted to have mentoring because it makes sense, and we did it like this. We can discuss this in a minute. The next slide, please. And then Sarah encouraged the mentors to reach out to the mentees just twice a year, in the first month of the new Toastmasters year, and then again after 6 months in the 7th month. She sent out emails. Please, mentors, now reach out to your mentees, do the initial discussion, and then after 7 months, do a follow-up discussion. What happened in these 2 discussions? Next slide, please. And you see, it's just 30 minutes. This is also important for me to show. I want to show you that it's very time efficient. It doesn't make much time, and we do not allow too much time because we just want to get started. When you don't have a mentoring thing, it's a good idea to make it easy to digest. And again, we did here 30 minutes for an initial discussion. I was a mentor to 4 people in this case, and I allocated the time as follows. The first half was for questions and answers. So the mentees could just ask me questions. There's a lot of questions that you can ask. Pathways is new. Advanced leadership roles in Toastmasters, like club officer roles or area director roles. This kind of knowledge is not very known to many people, so there is plenty of room to ask questions and to answer them. Sometimes people do not really start asking questions, then you can trigger them a little bit. For example, do you know how to do your initial assessment in pathways, or buzzwords like this, and then you can start a discussion. So the first part was about questions and answers, and the second was about the individual goals. Let's stay here for a little while. The individual goals of the mentee, and then we also wrote down 1 or 2 goals, specific goals, also with a time limit. So the end result was a sheet of paper, one piece of paper with some written goals, which we feed it back to Sarah for her, that she has the overview, did the meetings happen and the outcome. It's also a good idea when you are the vice president of education to have some overview about your education portfolio, all the members, what they are doing. Okay, then the next slide. And here we have one example how such a goal looked like with one of my mentees. He said, okay, I have some hesitations to do more prepared speeches because it's so time consuming. I prepare for 3, 4, even more hours for each prepared speech. And here we just decided, let's make it lean. And we had some measures how to do this. And we also said until when, June 2018 was his goal, his timeline in this first discussion. Then after 6 months, we had another discussion. Let's go to the next slide. 7 months, and here again, time efficient, only 15 minutes for follow-up. I did all the mentor-mentee discussions via phone. Again, so you don't have to meet. You can also meet before or after your regular meetings, but when it's more convenient and 30 and 15 minutes, things can be done over the phone. This is my opinion. And then we just talked for 15 minutes, again, same setup, questions and answers was the first thing. And I realized that just answering questions is it's just good. It's efficient, and the people are smart. And when you just give them some guidance and answer some questions, my experience, they start to be more motivated to perform better, to follow their goals. Speaking of goals, in the second part, we revisited the written goals. We did some adjustments and wrote it down again, what will happen for the rest of the Toastmasters year. So just 15 minutes, questions and answers, goals, write them down. The next slide, please. And here we have an example how this looks like. Here he decided to finally open up to pathways, get familiar with it, also visit other clubs. And here the timeline is a bit more generous. Until December 2019, this mentee decided to do these things. The next slide, please. And what we also do at the very end of these, it's just a one pager with the goals. And we also, again, we want to make the members aware that they all contribute to their club, that with their contributions, they make the club being there, ensure the existence of a club. We all want the Toastmasters learning experience, and they are smart people. This is my understanding. They are very well educated, but it makes sense to also remind them what their contribution is, also let them come up with their ideas. And that's why we end our written goal sheets with this, my contribution to a great atmosphere in the club. By the way, you all received the template already in my email that I sent yesterday. The next slide, please. So before we go into discussion, I say mentoring is the key to the kingdom. I realized it with my 4 mentees and also with the mentor that took care of me. And I say it's an opportunity for both to grow, an opportunity to grow for the mentor and the mentee. And here in brackets, what I realized in preaching to my mentees that they should do more speech projects, I accelerated the speech, the pace of my speech project. Also, I do, at times I did 2 speech projects a month, sometimes just 1 a month, but by preaching it to 3 or 4 mentees, I also lived up to what I told them. Okay, let's do it like this. You heard what I showed you. No, let's stay with the statement here. And now I would like to collect all your questions and remarks first, and then answer them. Who wants to share something?
The most I like, do you hear me?
Yes, Nina, yes.
The most I like is just to get started.
Yeah.
This is for me the key point you gave me tonight. Because we wrote all the time, we make a list and ask for volunteers to mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't work really. And your idea, I appreciate very much, and I will try it.
Thank you very much, Nina. Do you have more remarks or a question?
I have an additional.
Yes.
What's a key point for me is take also care of the mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what you need. In German, you will say Wertschätzung.
Yes.
But you must control the others, and this gives a good feedback.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Nina. Who else wants to share or ask something?
I have a question, if I
Yes,
can.
Lorenzo?
Yes. No, first of all, thank you very much. I had some good ideas now that I can steal with pride from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have one question is about the time you spend with each mentee.
Yes.
Because I understand the 2, let's say, sessions at the beginning and the middle of the year, 30 minutes. But what do you do in between? So do you help them with speeches or so on? And how much time, or what do you do? That's my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm still collecting questions. I will answer them all after we do the first round of questions. Is there anything else, Lorenzo, that you want to share or ask?
No, for now it's okay.
Okay, perfect. I'll come back to your question. Who is next?
Maybe me.
Yes.
Hi, Nicole. I've got a question. You said that people that are not so often holding speeches should not be a mentor. So when do you think is the best time to start to be a mentor?
Okay. Noted. More remarks or questions from you, Nicole?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next question or remark from the crowd?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Christina? Yep.
Yes, Andres. So yes, talking about pathways. So when we get new members in our club,
Mm-hmm.
Since pathways is still relatively new for a lot of us, the more veteran members that are just starting to get into pathways themselves, if we mentor someone,
Yes.
and he or she, someone new, we would encourage them to go into pathways. But if and when they have technical support, what the hell do we do? I mean, because we're still coming up the curve ourselves. Is there someone we can? I know there's webinar training for that and all that, but still, I had a lot of issues. After I finished one of my advanced manuals, I got into pathways recently. I've done my icebreaker, but I saw all the problems that I had, but I'm not frustrated because I have enough experience to know where to go for help. But I don't know that I'm in the position, or for that matter, the other members in my club, if they're mentoring someone and helping him or her through some of the technical stuff that comes up in pathways, who can we refer to help out? That would be the question.
So this, I allow myself to reformulate the question. So in case the mentee asks you something that you as a mentor can't answer, what do you do? Okay.
Yes.
More from your side, Christina?
I guess, yeah, sorry. I was doing work and listening to what you said. You talked about 6-month intervals to check in with the mentee. I thought there was also the other tradition that when someone comes on Toastmasters new, we mentor them for like 3 to 6 months, or at least the first 3 speeches. Did you talk about that?
Yes, I'll come back to that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to ask a question or do a remark?
I think I like the idea very much of a mentoring, especially at the beginning. But it goes a bit of the remark before. I think, like, if you have a meeting at the beginning and then after 6 months, but I think maybe during the starting time, more questions are coming up, like preparing. So I don't know if it might, I mean, I know it's also time of the mentor, but maybe like it would also make sense, like in between having a short call of 10 minutes or something, 15 minutes, so the mentee could ask some questions, or like how he can further develop or what he has to do next, so that this is a bit more clear.
Yes, I will link this to the question asked by Lorenzo, which was also about what happens in between meeting number 1 and meeting number 2 after 6 months. Thank you very much, Delia. Do you have more remarks or questions?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Who else wants to share something?
Hi, Andreas. It's Nelleke speaking. Can you hear me?
Hello, I can.
Hi. Yes. Hey, thank you for the outline. In general, we don't have a lot of, I think, challenges with mentorship, but I think we can formalize it better. So your presentation definitely helped with that. I very much like that aspect of the question at the end is my contribution will be. I think that is very good for them to think about. My question is, do you do that immediately at the beginning or after the 6-month period? And then the other question is, what exactly do you do with the mentors for mentors? Because then it becomes also a bit complicated, because we need so many mentors, and now we need mentors for mentors. It becomes, we may start struggling with finding enough people to help with that.
Yes, thank you very much, Nelleke. Anything else?
That is it for me. Thank you.
Perfect. So, is there anybody else in the crowd that wants to share or ask something? Okay, then I start answering your questions. Coming back to your question, Lorenzo, what happens in between? So again, the whole idea is to just get started with a simple, time-efficient scheme that people can embrace and get going. And of course, it's not forbidden to speak in between these 2 sessions. My presentation here is fully focused on just getting started. It's up to the mentors and mentees how they run their relationship. But from a vice president education or lead mentor point of view, from the club's leadership team point of view, for us, it's sufficient when they meet at the start of the Toastmasters year, and then after 6 months, when they have written goals, then we are happy. This is the current answer. Is this okay, Lorenzo and Delia, or do you want to say something on this?
If I can, I would like to add to at least these things I have in my mind. So because it sounds very similar to what we have at work, like performance management and say, at the beginning of the year. And for me, I was thinking, now you were speaking, that in the first meeting, when you set up the goals and so on, you should even discuss what is the relationship between mentor and mentee, and what are the expectations of the mentee in terms of mentoring. Because I agree with you, maybe some people, they need just to know there is somebody in case they have a question. Some other people really want to share with you a lot of things. So that was my curiosity.
And you remind me of an important thing. Of course, when you as the Vice President Education or lead mentor start the scheme, please book a speech slot in your club and be super transparent about what you do. So explain everybody, the mentors, the mentee, the whole club, why we do this. And this is why I came up with this very simple presentation. So this is also something that you can do on a flip chart or on a piece of paper. Explain them why we do this and how we do it. And then, of course, it's up to the mentor and mentee how they would like to run it. But again, our message from a Vice President Education point of view is we just want to get started, meet at least twice a year, and have written goals. When you do this, we are very happy already. Okay, let's go to the next question. The best timing when to become a mentor. That was a question by Nicole. And here I say, when I look at my clubs, sometimes, I just took the most advanced members, the members that have been around the longest, and they automatically become mentors. And when you have 20 people and only 5 of them, then it's of course the 5 and then the next ones that are a little bit advanced. And of course, as the Vice President Education and President, you take care of these mentors. You will be there for them when they come up with questions that they can't answer. But again, it's important for us to have this relationship that everybody, and remember these 3 situations where people should not be alone when they are new joiners, when they are somewhere in between, and when they are advanced. They just need somebody to speak to in these difficult situations, or somebody that calls them. For example, somebody has a tough time in the job or in the family. They don't show up for 2-3 months. It's just a good thing when there is a mentor calling them, telling them, simple sentence, we miss you. It worked so well in the past. Then you learn something. Okay, I feel bad, I want to come back, or it's too much. And with this piece of information, you can feed it back to the Vice President Education and work with it. So again, simple scheme. We want to have relationships. We want to form pairs, mentor, mentee, just somebody that is taking care of you a little bit. So there is, what is the best timing to become a mentor? As soon as possible. Or as soon as we need you to be a mentor. And again, Planwirtschaft, state planned economy, we just assigned them and it worked. In our case, it worked well. But it took Sarah was very brave when she did this. But she was also transparent. She explained why we do it like this and why, in our case, we had 4 mentees assigned to each mentor because of, the mentors were scarce, so we just did it. It was, I say, it's too much to have 4 mentees. Again, when you only spend the half hour with them and then the 15 minutes, it's a tough month, that first month, when you take care and start relationships with so many people. So I say 1 mentor and then a maximum of 3 mentees. Good. Anything you want to add to this point?
Thanks a lot, Andreas. My problem is that we have got very much old members, but also a lot of new, let's say newbies more or less, and the people in the middle are kind of missing.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of making the new ones that are only a half a year in the, or let's say 10 months in the club. Yeah. To start to be a mentor, and I'm not sure whether it is a good idea or not.
It's a perfect idea. It's great. So somebody that has been around for half a year, he or she they have visited several meetings. They know how our business model works. They can be there. They can answer most of the questions. And when they can't, and this brings me to Christina's questions, what to do when you are a mentor and you can't answer a question. Just go back to the lead mentor or the Vice President Education, usually the most experienced people in your club, and post the question with them. If they don't know it, go to the area director, and then finally end up with me as the division director. So just post these questions and feed it back to your mentees. But when somebody has been around for 6 months, I always say somebody that has been around for 6 months, they can immediately take on an officer role. And oftentimes we are already in a crisis situation where people drop out in their officer roles. They have to. The sooner they take over responsibility, the sooner they learn about our business model and make their own experiences in leading, the better. Again, hashtag where leaders are made. It's about, we are in the leadership making business, and the sooner they start as a club officer or as a mentor, the better. Christina, coming back to pathways and questions that we can't answer, we want to add something, or
Yeah,
is this fine?
I guess really my main problem is, aside
Mhm.
from people problems, I'm really asking,
Yes,
where can I send them for technical support for pathways if I can't help them? I
yes.
mean, I went into the D109 pathways discussion group,
Mhm.
posted my questions there,
Okay.
got a lot of replies.
Uh-huh.
Everyone was very helpful, but it meant that I spent like 72 hours reading through everybody's feedback and then coming
Okay.
back to apply it myself. And we don't want new members to do that. They might get
Yes.
frustrated about this.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. So, 2 remarks on pathways. This training is not about pathways, but it makes sense, and I keep receiving a lot of questions. So the first very simple technical thing is pathways, unfortunately, they work when you use it on a normal computer with pop-up windows. And when you open pathways in the office or where you work or at home, there are always pop-up blockers. So an important piece of information to all the members is look into your settings when it comes to pop-up blockers, and be aware that pathways, it's not all that obvious to see in your browser. And then play around with a few devices, so maybe your home computer, your business computer, your smartphone, and your tablet, and just figure out which is the best device to access pathways. And then whenever I receive questions, I go to Karina Shea. She's a very experienced pathways ambassador. So when you have questions from your members, or when you also have questions, just post them to me and I collect them, go to Karina. She's very responsive and helped me in the last weeks very much when it comes to pathways. Okay, then there was the question of Neleke about the contribution and when to do this. And Lorenzo, can you show us the second PDF, please, with the development plan? Very good. So let's use this opportunity to have a quick look into the development plan. And let's start from the top. In the right upper corner, you see this is based on a meeting or phone call. Again, I recommend to make it very efficient. Also, when it comes to logistics, to do this via phone. So most people have at least met each other in a regular meeting a couple of times, and the relationship should be, it's possible to do things over the phone. This is my understanding. It's enough when you have met each other a few times, then you can do it over the phone. It's just more efficient and increases the probability that these mentoring discussions are actually happening. And then we start with current strengths. Again, we ask the mentee, what do you think of yourself? What are your current strengths, your observations from the last projects when you were on stage? Then the development areas. And then when we scroll down, Lorenzo, there are 2 goals: what we want to achieve, how we want to achieve it with the measures, and very important, the timeline. So 3 steps: what, how, and until when. And then at the end, we have the my contribution. And Neleke, yes, we do this already in the first month. So we ask the member what they can contribute in the now starting Toastmasters year. And we do this twice a year. Yeah, we ask them at the start, and then maybe they are more motivated to take over more responsibility, or they say, no, I have a tough time in my job, I have to cut down a bit, but I can still for example, support the sergeant at arms whenever I'm there, or just do a little thing that helps the whole club. And I say it, help us survive. And when you just help us with a 5-minute task every week, you help us survive. Or when you are a strong club, you add to the excellent education experience. Okay, and then so is this fine, Nelike, for the first question
Yeah,
that you
this is
asked?
perfect. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, and then you had another question, but this is also linked to the one of Nicole, the mentors for mentors. And do we have enough people for that? Yeah, again, it's the Planwirtschaft. We assigned them, and in our case, it was quite time sufficient because these advanced people are in our case, they were quite motivated. So it was a straightforward thing to just have a quick call, ask them for the goals, write it down, feed it back to the vice president education, done. So
Okay,
yeah.
so you used a kind of a similar form as what we're looking at right now, in a way.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
You were going through a similar process, I guess, for the mentors
Yes.
in the form that we are looking at right now.
Yes, thanks for bringing this up. It's exactly the same thing. So also the mentors, when they sit with their mentors, they do this twice a year, in the first month, in the seventh month, and they write down goals and feed it back. Yes, it's the exact same process. So every mentor is also a mentee having the same experience.
Okay, great.
Mhm. Super. This was the round of questions you heard us discuss. Who else wants to ask or share something? Can I have a quick look on the watch? Perfect. 40 minutes. So you all received my email yesterday. You have the slide set and you have the template for the discussion to write down the goals. I strongly encourage you to use these resources. Again, I did the presentation in a very low-tech style. I did this for a reason, as simple as possible, as little to read as possible, and then a one-pager to get the thing started. So I encourage you to use this. If you want to have more, if you are a reader, if you want to have long texts about mentoring and guidelines, please drop me an email and I will provide you with more. But I say this is it, the slide set, the template. Let's just try it. And when you have more questions, please reach out. When you need more stuff to read, also reach out. It's all there. It's all there. Okay,
Andreas,
Lorenz, yes.
Andreas, that makes me think of something actually, because I
Yeah.
know as part of pathways, and that may be only at level 3 or 4, I don't know exactly,
Mm-hmm.
is this mentoring aspect. Do you know how this fits in that pathways mentoring?
To be honest, I do not.
Okay,
And I also, the question that I keep receiving is, Andreas, what happened to the leadership track? We struggle filling meeting roles. There is obviously no incentive anymore.
I do agree with that.
I do agree. We developed a workaround. I told my area directors this week to address this and support clubs with this. Let's assume it's not there. There is no incentive from Pathways. Maybe there is a project in one of the paths that people decide to take. But again, let's do this independent of Pathways. Let's, in the role of vice president education or lead mentor, stand in front of your club, tell them that mentoring makes perfect sense because of these three important situations where people need support, where it makes sense to have somebody, and then just start it. That's my understanding. What I didn't cover here is that it's solving so many issues that we have. So we can't fill meeting roles, maybe don't have enough project activity. We now should start finding and grooming the club officers for the next year. Mentoring is addressing all of this because we learn about the goals of our mentees, and we also give them the transparency about our business model. It's about leadership, and that we need them to contribute also to the bigger picture. And mentoring is the key to the kingdom. This is my understanding, and in our club, it worked out very well.
Sure.
Okay, Lorenzo, can you go back to the initial slide set? And I just want to repeat the main points, and then we close the call. So, okay, again. So let's go back to the. So very briefly. So we want to involve all the members, and we want to solve current challenges. There are these 3 important situations when you are a new joiner, when you are somewhere in between, bad things can happen to you, and also when you are advanced, like in the CC10, and I was criticized, why do you put CC10 on here? We don't have this anymore. But I just realized today I had this a person reaching the 10th speech project from the traditional program. We did standing ovations for 10 seconds for this person, and then somebody has to speak to him soon, because the probability is very high that he will be happy with what he reached and not get any advanced manuals. So here it makes sense. And then let's look again into our Planwirtschaft, Lorenzo. What Sarah just did, she decided to take one more down, please. She and one more, and she one more, please. She decided to do the whole mentoring in her role as Vice President Education. You also can have a lead mentor. I strongly recommend having an 8th person supporting this as a time-boxed project. She assigned the mentors without too much volunteering and democracy, and she created a pool of mentors, just took the experienced people, assigned them the mentees, made sure that the mentors also have mentors. One more down, please. And then she triggered the mentors twice a year, in the 1st month, in the 7th month, to sit down first for 30 minutes with their mentees, then for 15 minutes, always have written goals, and feed the written goals back to her to have the full overview about the education portfolio of her club. Okay. Let's look into this again. And then again, this is my statement for tonight: an opportunity to grow for mentor and mentee. When you are a mentor yourself, you will on your own body realize how good this is. And then the final slide, again, we have a fantastic team this year, 4 area directors supporting staff. Whenever you have questions about pathways, about mentoring, when you need more, please reach out to us. We are here to support you. Thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you for making mentoring a priority tonight. And good luck, and speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.